Freedom Council is nothing without all of you. How do we go about getting people held criminally responsible for their acts? The military is still at risk. Election interference, the medicalization of childhood. These drug dealers like Pfizer and Moderna, we can seize their property. We develop our litigation through conferences like this. It's going to come through communications. It's going to come through conversations. And Freedom Council is that conversation.
For information, visit freedomcouncil.org.
I knew as early as February 2020 that I needed to do something.
I recognized that there was a systematic problem and that this was not about hydroxychloroquine, it was something larger.
Fear shut the world down, and people made a lot of money at it as they were killing us.
I was asked to speak at a freedom rally that was set up to discredit my reputation.
Whoever orchestrated this must not have the safety of this nation in mind.
Medicine and politics should be separated. These doctors were handcuffed.
The American public has awakened. We have a new civil rights movement to restore our rights, and we're going to hold them accountable.
It is a natural progression of a man of God or woman of character to see injustice, to seek it out, and then to act upon it.
Do you hear me? We will never lock down again. This is the hill we die on.
Don't miss New American Heroes with attorney Warner Mendenhall and John Davidson, Mondays on BrokenTruth.tv.
You just have to flood a country's public square with enough raw sewage.
And if anybody is lying here, Senator, it is you.
Once they lose trust in their leaders, in mainstream media, in political institutions, in each other, in the possibility of truth, the game's won.
With another episode of Broken Truth and Freedom Council, I'm John Davidson, and today my co-host is the lovely and talented Warner Mendenhall. Welcome, Warner.
Hey.
And our guest today is Priscilla Romans, who works with Graith, a patient advocacy group that is helping Warner right now through his time. I guess this is our first show since you've come out of the closet, Warner.
Right.
You want to give everybody a quick rundown and update?
Well, yes, certainly. I literally was on death's door in December and got diagnosed with a stage 4C colon cancer that had spread to my peritoneum. So I have multiple tumors across my abdomen right now. And, I was really in bad shape. I could barely function. And I got to say, our friends in the movement, sure rallied to assist me, and Graith Care has been a huge part of that. And I want to go into the details of that. I know we had a little Twitter space the other day as well, just audio. So I wanted to have a video of this, and I'm prepared at this point to be more explicit about what happened with me and what the care looked like, and where I think Graith Care came in and has really helped a lot. And as you can see, I'm upright. I'm not in the hospital anymore. I'm smiling. There's still every day, I got to tell you, is a struggle though. As Priscilla knows, she hears from me pretty regular. And I sure have a lot of empathy for everyone who's going through these types of struggles, because it's a daily battle to, help preserve your health, regain your health, and just to function. I'm certainly not functioning at 100%, far from it, but I'm improving every day thanks to all the great help that I've had.
I'm glad to hear that, brother. We're all rooting for you, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, Priscilla, do you want to kind of explain to us a little bit about Graith Care and what you guys do?
Yeah, Graith Care is such a different type of service that most people don't even know exists. And when they finally use us, they finally go, wow, I had no clue how much you guys actually did. And I think, Warner, you can attest to that. We've known each other for a few years now. And I think when it hits home and you realize how much you need a patient advocate on your side, it really makes a difference. To kind of go back 6 years, 6 years ago during this time, it was February of 2020. This was, of course, before all the lockdowns and the mandates and all of those great things that were about ready to unfold. But in March of 2020, I took a leap of faith as I really feel that God had prepared me to launch Graith Care. Now, I did this on my own. I was still working in the corporate world at that time, but my heart as a nurse and running multiple different operations within the healthcare sector was teaching me that the system was not very kind to people. It wasn't telling people the truth, and they really needed to have somebody on their side to help navigate. So we launched 6 years ago in March of 2020, before the lockdowns and mandates. I had no clue, like many people, what was about ready to unfold with isolation, school lockdowns, mandates, on experimental EUA, drugs. There's so many aspects of the healthcare sector that I was very familiar with how to help people navigate. But it was very alarming as this unfolded, how much patient advocacy was needed. So I was helping people escape the hospital situation, get comfortable at home, have everything they need at home, including things like ivermectin or oxygen, helping block and tackle so people had their loved one at their side, even through dying, because nobody should die alone, and even blocking and tackling from these massive mandates that were happening. We even flew people out of the largest hospitals in the United States to seek better care and options that they deserve. So this is very massive. What Graith Care started out as a one-person show back in 2020. And what rapidly happened is advocates, other advocates started reaching out to me saying, hey, can I join what you're doing? I want to do this. I can help. And so these people on our advocate team are handpicked. I have not had to go find them. They found me and they brought their amazing skill set to the table. And we are able to help people with all sorts of different problems within the healthcare system, from labor and delivery needs to home needs, nursing home needs, even teeing up legal cases to great attorneys. Cancer, as many of you now know, with the work we're doing to help Warner. But what's the key here, I want to just kind of break this down. It's kind of like when your car needs maintenance or it starts to break down. You want to go talk to a mechanic that really understands what's underneath the hood and can really help you figure out what the root cause is, not feel like you're getting screwed over, that they're really telling you the truth. And you want to go to a mechanic that you believe in, that's going to take good care of you. Well, that's what Graith Care does. We are your go-to for healthcare needs. And what happens every single day is people call us from all around the world, because we have clients in all 50 states and over 30 plus countries right now. And they call us saying, I need help because I have cancer and I'm not for sure where to start. Or my loved one's in the hospital and they are not listening to us. They are not helping us. Insurance is denying us. Whatever it might be, they call our number, we listen to their story, and then we match them to the right fit advocate on our team, whether it's one of our specialty advocates like Dr. Silva, who Warner has gotten to meet now, or one of our critical care advocates like Kim. And we match you with that advocate because we want it to not only be a great experience, but our advocates, if it's the right skill set for that need, we can make things happen very, very quickly and intently, especially in crisis. So that's kind of the small summary of what we're doing. It's quite massive. And I think Warner probably could describe it a little bit more, his own experience.
Yeah, I think, I mean, there's many, many things that you guys have done for me. I mean, I'll try to highlight a couple of them. One is, I immediately needed medications. And frankly, the traditional healthcare system was moving very slow. I'm in the hospital. I had 2 sessions in an ER for 24 hours, waiting for care because I was in the severe pain and problems. And that was sort of a mess. You guys helped advocate in that a bit. And then medicine showed up at my door. I was able to get an online consultation and get medications that would be helpful to me much quicker than through the traditional system. They were dealing with symptoms, but not the core, some of the core issues. I came out of the hospital on December 24th, and I had medication at my door on December 26th, by the way. So we started, at least getting something started then. The other thing that happened to me, I got severely dehydrated. I didn't even know you could have home infusions. I mean, first of all, you're not thinking that clearly. Let's back up a minute. I could hardly think. I could hardly I mean, you just can't think. You can't move. You're just out of it when you're in that kind of pain and problem. And I just said, I'm dehydrated. I don't know what to do. Immediately they said, well, you can have home hydration. And next thing I know, I'm getting hydrated at home. And that immediately, and I mean immediately, made me feel better. I was severely dehydrated. You get that hydration in you and some vitamins, boom, it revived me and allowed me to function. Another thing that I think has been important for me, even though we've done medical malpractice, I'm looking at medical records, I'm looking at all these numbers. There's a lot of numbers, there's a lot of testing. And it's helpful to have somebody like Kim Hall who is helping me understand those numbers, understand the direction of those numbers, what they're telling me, like where's my iron, where's my sugar levels, where everything you can imagine, the CBC panels. And I just, especially again, when you're kind of out of it, you're not remembering what all the little acronyms and little letters mean. I just need somebody to walk me through that verbally and tell me where I am and what we're concerned about. Additionally, even in terms of now let's go back to the traditional healthcare, Kim certainly helped move those appointments along, move them up, get me scanned more quickly, get me in more quickly, and get because I'm doing a kind of a hybrid system here, but to get the traditional therapies online as quickly as possible, even though it did take about 2 months to start the chemotherapy treatment that I'm on. So all of those things were very, very helpful to me. And then there's other things too, but there's a plethora of things that will help, different therapies that will help. Graith Care and their advocates know about all those. They'll figure out what's right for you. And I think one thing I do want to emphasize is that everything that I'm doing is being medically tracked, consulted with doctors, and that's really important because I know there's all kinds of things on the internet that, you can take this, that, and the other, it'll cure your cancer. Well, maybe, but it also has an impact on your liver, your kidney, and you better be tracking that stuff, and you better have a doctor or an advocate who's telling you what it's actually doing to your body. It's all chemicals, and they can be very dangerous in the wrong combinations. And in fact, some of the combinations, like vitamin C was interacting with one of the other chemicals that I was taking, I asked about vitamin C. They said, well, there's an interaction there. Don't do that on these days. So just simple stuff like that I don't know offhand. They've got that kind of experience that helps me perform, and get everything moving and keep my plan on track, including, frankly, some nutritional advice, things like that. So I'm going to close with one quick thing here. I luckily, and thanks to people who really supported me, I have been able to pay for the services. But Graith Care also has a nonprofit arm, which people can donate to, so that others can get these services through donated funds. And I'm really, I certainly, once I get out of this, have a commitment to try to help other people in the same way that I've been helped. And I want to see that nonprofit grow because this is extremely necessary.
So here's an interesting question. Insurance doesn't cover this, right?
Right, that's right. And that's what I'm saying. It does cost some money for you to pay for it privately, but Graith Care you've said, and I'll let you explain, Priscilla, but I mean, there is a nonprofit set up to assist people who can't afford that.
We have a really unique audience with this show. Some of the people that watch are kind of movers and shakers that can make changes. Is it possible to get this service added to covered services by Medicare, Medicaid, or health insurance?
Well, I think it's critical. I mean, and I'll give you another thing. I think there's a savings. I mean, you want to know the truth of it. I would be in far worse shape, probably would have been under surgery under the knife, costing the system hundreds of thousands of dollars had I not had an early intervention here.
Yeah.
The reality is that this upfront cost is saving me a lot of pain, suffering, and money in the longer term, and saving the insurance company as well, because I think you can hear from my voice. I feel like, I was on death's door, probably still am, but no, I definitely feel like I've been improving, and it's because of the rapid intervention and assistance that I've had to move things along.
Well, okay, then what are the steps that need to be taken either by insurance companies or by the federal government to authorize Graith Care as a covered service?
I can't say that I'm sure of that right now. I'd have to check, but I mean, it should be, a healthcare, it should fall right under your healthcare bills.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. We save insurance a lot of dollars by the work that we do, without a doubt. And I used to run my former corporate job. I ran 29 state Medicaid programs for waste, fraud, and abuse, and the 9/11 work comp victims. So I know all about how the system works in the back end. And I do believe the work that we're doing with Graith Care significantly helps these insurance programs work actually and function better for the quality outcomes of people, which is what we want. We want a system that's going to have results, not just checking boxes. And that's something we do really, really well. People also do use flexible spending accounts and HSAs to pay for our services as well. That is an option. And then people do pay for our services out of pocket. And then, of course, we have the donated side as well. So people do apply for the donated advocacy time if they are in a financial hardship. We have lots of moms, single moms and dads, veterans, seniors that can barely scrape by. And we've even gotten people with vaccine injuries, helped them so much that they're back to work. So there's a lot of great things that we're able to do as an advocate team, because we're able to do things outside the box, really tackle things outside of these policies that can really strap people in the corporate world. We believe in medical freedom. We believe there's a way we can do this. And that's why we have a team of experts. So it's fun. This is the best type of nursing that I signed up for a long time ago. And I love being able to help people. It makes a full difference in my life, seeing those successes.
Now, are you able to go on site at times?
Yeah. Yep. We go on site. We have advocates all over the country. If I can't personally go on site, we know how to pull people in to do that. That's what we did during COVID. We had to pull that arm with certain people getting into the hospitals to do certain levels of work with ethics meetings and so forth. So very unique with how we work. Not everybody can be an advocate. I just want to point this out there. There's a lot of people that think they can be an advocate in the healthcare sector. They don't have the experience and breadth, because we need to be very safe and measured with how we're approaching and navigating people's health and wellness, especially when you're looking at dire situations. This isn't just about throwing something to the wall and seeing if it sticks. This is about somebody's life. And we need to make sure we have the right matched advocate or specialty advocate like Dr. Silva on our team, looking at the case in a viewpoint of understanding where people need to navigate. And we are very, very wise with how the blend of alternative natural and traditional natural and alternative can all be done all in one. See, it's not about one or the other. Everybody gets kind of their panties in a knot about, I just want to do natural. And that's fine, you can. But what's very wise is to make sure you have a second set of eyes look at your situation and provide you safe advice as to how to navigate. Because what I know as a nurse, I can tell you that natural options can sometimes take longer to take effect than doing a blended approach in a very serious situation, such as a stage 4 cancer patient.
Right.
The stage 4 is not something that you mess around with. And we might need to pull the trigger on traditional options just to stagnate what's currently going on in the body. So we need somebody that understands both of those worlds and who can blend them properly. And that's why, Warner, you have the best of the best on your team, Dr. Silva and Kim, because they do know the proper blend and they know the urgency that is needed in scenarios like yours.
Well, no, and I really feel like, I don't want to go into the specific protocols that I'm on, but, certainly the vitamins and supplements that I went on immediately, I think they helped pull me back from the brink. The advice that we got allowed my body to begin to function again. And then, the chemotherapy actually, I'm going to be blunt with people. It worked. It's been good. It was very helpful to me. I could feel the impact of it. I know that these are dangerous drugs and they can have all kinds of neurological effects, but my God, anything to get my bowels working properly, to be blunt, and to, start, suppressing that tumor, the tumors that are down there is just critical. And I think that, by getting on some processes immediately, like I said, I think it saved me a surgery. And then not a good surgery. A surgery that could have killed me. So
yep.
I think I certainly credit you all with that. And I can't say how much I appreciate the support. One of the advocates came and actually was with me when I was in one of the ER sessions, which I barely remember because I was so out of it. But I'm sitting in an ER for 24 hours. And, I had to do that twice. But yeah, it was nice to have her come up and join me there.
Now, hospitals have their own advocates, right?
Yeah, they do.
Or advocates, I should probably say. Are the hospitals billing insurance companies for those advocates?
Yeah, they work for the system. So what happened during COVID and has been happening for years before even COVID showed up, is hospital advocates have to abide by those policies and procedures dictated by the healthcare system. They are not going to also think outside the box because they are checking boxes. You don't want somebody that's just checking boxes. You need to know how to utilize those people in those spaces. But then you need to understand there's a strategy to successful outcomes in the healthcare system. That's why you need an advocate that understands both sides of the coin, especially medical freedom. And I don't like the word no. I like the words, let's figure it out.
Well, I want to say something about the advocates. My insurance has an advocacy program as well. Guess who I can never get a hold of? They call. I'm like, oh, it's nice to call. I'll call them back. There's no pickup of the phone. So whatever they do or would do, I don't know. They don't really, they don't pick up the phone. Now in the hospital itself, if I'm in the hospital, I'm not, I'm actually at that point, I was just not functioning well enough to even use the advocate at the hospital. I was just pretty much of a mess.
Well, I would imagine that having an advocate that shows up when you're already in a bad situation with no knowledge of everything that you went through to get to that point is probably pretty useless.
Yeah.
So I think this is great. When I've had to deal with friends and family in hospitals, one of the things you encounter is that hospitals have rotations, and whereas we used to think we had a doctor that was always concerned about our case, now it's a wall of doctors that changes every few hours. And when, that's a blessing. I don't know if it's a blessing at all, because no one is responsible when things go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
How do hospitals react? And have you noticed any differences in types of hospitals, hospital systems, whatever, to, an actual patient-oriented advocate being involved? Because I've encountered medical systems where doctors were highly unhappy with any sort of third-party observation to their actions. What's your experience, Priscilla?
Well, a lot of people get concerned about that initially. They say, oh, are they going to be upset if we have an advocate? And actually, a lot of the doctors that we talk to with the patient on the phone, we have a great collaboration with, because our interests really are the same. See, we're not here to be defensive or get on a stump about, some political rant, anything like that. Our goal here is to protect you, the patient. And so we need to build those bridges so we can get to the point of the root cause, or to get whatever stable. So when we're talking with a client, we say, do you want us to talk with your doctor, or do you just want us to tell us tips on how to bridge conversations and get what you want? So we can do it either way. So we really want to teach people what to say, what to do, what not to do, and make sure people understand what they can do. Some people we can talk to and they'll go, thank you so much, and they go do it on their own. Some people are in really bad situations where they can't even think properly, they're exhausted, and they need us to really do more than just tell them, hey, talk to your doctor about this. This is where the advocate can talk with the doctor. In my background, I was an ICU nurse. So I don't get afraid of conversations. We just need to have a conversation, make sure we've got what needs to be addressed and done. For example, some doctors will just order certain tests. Well, some other tests should actually be asked for, but the patient doesn't know that. And if it's not asked for and ordered, it never happens. So the patient and family get frustrated when, if it was just asked for properly for the medical necessity, it happens. It's very interesting when an advocate gets involved, everything seems to move a lot quicker, and we have a lot more eyes on things to make things happen. It's really awesome because we know when we speak the language, it works.
That's interesting. Yeah. I think this is a great service. Do you think, if as an ICU nurse, if every patient that had been admitted for COVID had had an advocate like provided by Graith Care, would we have experienced what many claim were hospital homicides, where protocols were unfortunately used to, well, as Warner has filed many claims about? Would that have happened?
Well, if a patient would have had a Graith Care advocate when they went to the hospital, and I would even say prior to even needing to go into the hospital, because we saved a lot of people from even having to go to the hospital because we knew what to put in place. But when people got to such a bad respiratory status situation where we did need some medical intervention, if they would have sought out Graith Care in the emergency room, which we do a lot, people call us in the emergency room all the time saying, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. Are they going to give me remdesivir? I'm scared. They still call about that today. And we help them make sure they understand what their options are, and to make sure we decrease that anxiety. We make sure there's medications like Precedex, which was a significant problem during the height of COVID. They were giving Precedex, which was an IV drip medication that actually decreased the respirations and the heart rate. And They were giving it. We had nurses literally tell a patient, we're giving this to them because of anxiety. The number one side effect, one of the top side effects of Precedex, it increases anxiety. So why would we give something to a patient that is going to increase anxiety when they are already having respiratory distress? This makes zero sense in my mind. So if we can help advocate up front, there's a lot of things we can prevent. And we also understand how to navigate those very intense waters when respiratory distress is coming to a head, where they're going, we need to intubate, we need to intubate, we need to intubate. Because what happened is when they got intubated, their mortality rate went significantly up, and they didn't even do the right things to begin with, like bumescidide, which Dr. Bartlett brilliantly talked about. These things we knew how to advocate for, and if people got a hold of us early enough, before all of these things happened, before the multiple days of remdesivir, we had so much more success because we weren't unraveling a mess. And I'm telling you, we got involved in some of the larger cases with messes because they had no clue that we even existed. So a lot of people, when they finally got our services, they said, I wish we would have known about you sooner. And I believe we would have been able to save a lot more lives. So people really do need to know about us. They need to remember to put graithcare.com in their phone and our phone number, and they need to know we need to make sure we are, connected. And they can easily go to graithcare.com, subscribe to our free newsletter, and I send out a newsletter every week on tips, suggestions, how they need to block and tackle, things that they need to do for them and their family to be proactive. Let's stay out of crisis.
They say, I think Marty Macri did a study on this, that medical errors are the third largest cause of death in the United States. That's pretty bad. I can only imagine that having someone that's aware of the kind of errors that occur as your advocate would be a huge benefit. Since Graith Care has started, have you encountered these errors and stopped them before they became?
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%. And actually, even through active cases, when clients would call us, for example, we had a California case. What happened? Her husband was in the hospital, and she called the advocate and said, I don't understand what happened. They're telling me he's getting worse. With that, we need to do the ventilator. We said, whoa, wait a minute. He was doing just fine yesterday. What exactly happened? And what we realized happened through our very close questioning of the staff. It was what we call a sentinel event that happened. And they did not tell the wife what actually happened. They were scaring her into intubating her husband when actually the respiratory connection was not even connected. It was creating the situation. And if the advocate didn't ask those questions, that wife would never have known that it wasn't her husband that was actually declining. It was the care that actually made the issue decline. And this is where we need to be very, very smart with our words of what we're using with these people. And we need to hold them accountable. Even finding the best attorneys, which Warner and his group is the best. And we've even, said, hey, you need to go find a great attorney that can actually represent you, because what they did was wrong and either injured or killed them.
Well, I want to weigh in on that a little bit. I mean, these cases, obviously, we tried the Shara case this past summer, and unfortunately, the jury found for the hospital in that case. And it's the same old story. It's the Precedex, the lorazepam, the morphine, that killed Grace, in my view. And had they understood that she was having a bad reaction to the Precedex 3 times, that Grace would probably still be with us today. But the jury really couldn't see through that. And this is something I want to point out: not just medical mistakes, but John, the standard of care is a killer.
Yeah.
So they had their experts come in and say, look, This is the standard of care. Precedex, lorazepam, morphine. This is standard of care. So you can be getting the hospital protocol, the standard of care, and it will kill you. And we need people who understand that the standards of care with remdesivir, for example. I'll tell you, we rank ordered the hospitals across the United States. I won't name the top one, but in the one that had the most deaths, 70% of the people who got remdesivir were dying. And then we have similar numbers with the ventilation. I mean, how you get on the ventilation, flip a coin, it's 50-50 whether you're going to die or not. So, and these are standard of care. Remdesivir was approved. It was one of the first approved drugs in COVID, but it's, the hospital personnel call it run death is near. They know what it is. They know how bad it is. That's why that run death is near phrase came up. So I'm just, I'm pretty horrified, not just about the number of mistakes, but the fact that the standard of care itself can be very deadly for people. And you need people who understand where and how and why that's deadly. And you've got to intervene on it early enough. And I can tell you that, the average person who goes into hospital has no idea what Precedex is or lorazepam or how they interact with morphine, or they probably never even heard remdesivir before it was injected into them. Didn't know anything about that. And I mean, even in my situation, I'm looking at all the different drugs, that I'm being, recommended to take from the hospital. And some of them I don't have to take. I don't need to take them. And I mean, they're recommending all kinds of things. I'll give you one example. One's an anti-nausea drug. It's also an antipsychotic. I don't want an antipsychotic. I don't want to be taking something like that. I just as soon hold on to my psychosis as it is. I'm joking.
I like you, crazy buddy.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, come on. What? I mean, but nobody has time to read that. It's like, oh, I got nausea. I'm throwing up. Let me pop a pill. They don't read what's behind that medicine, and they can have some bad consequences. And I, I mean, I'm somebody who is going to do that. But you need advocates who also understand what those drugs are and can explain what they could do.
So polypharmacies, when you get multiple drugs, have various interactions. So let me ask that, Priscilla, are you, as part of Graith Care, are you able to access Epic Everywhere and tie into your patient's actual live chart, or do you have to sort of relay through?
Oh, yes. And we want to understand what exactly are the diagnoses they're dealing with, what the supplements, the medications, the previous medical history. This is very important. It all ties in together. And for example, that's why we have an advocate that has a pharmacist background on our advocacy team, because we want to make sure we understand those drug interactions. And what's interesting is the pharmacies don't really talk about the supplements and the drug interactions as much as I think they should. Or some patients aren't telling their doctor the things they're on because they're afraid that their doctor is going to lecture them. Well, this is very important that you have somebody that you can really talk to and trust, because there are some safe mechanisms. And on the point of standard of care, just because there's a standard of care out there doesn't mean it's good care. That's why you really need to understand, what are you asking for and what should you say no to? There is a thing called no, and people think it has to be a really big conversation, and it doesn't. We teach people how do you properly say no and defend what you want for you or for your family. It's very important to understand those words. You don't always have to say yes to everything. You can even just say that you're praying about something. That's just fine. Don't ever feel rushed with a healthcare decision. It's very important so you can make a good informed decision and make sure you understand, why is the system, the healthcare system, telling me to go do this procedure? Or why are they telling me to take this drug? Do they have a bonus incentive? Do they get paid on procedures? How do they get paid? And when you understand those things, it changes the way you look at healthcare. So it's a great viewpoint from our standpoint to understand those things so we can block and tackle for those people that we serve.
I'm going to give you a quick example. I mean, one of the things that, obviously I've fought the vaccines, from day one. I don't want blood products that is from somebody who's vaccinated. I hate to say it, but I want unvaccinated blood if I get a blood product. And one of the decisions I had to make was, they said we've got a blood product, and if we do X, Y, and Z to this extent, you're going to need this blood product. And I said, no, I don't want the blood product. I literally turned down some things I don't want to get into the specifics, but I turned down some of the things they were going to do because it would necessitate a blood product. I wasn't sure what the situation was with that. And I'm very hesitant, especially with cancer, to have spike protein go into my system. Frankly, it's already there because of exposure and COVID itself. And I don't want to boost that any more than it is. I mean, COVID itself helped to spike cancers, and then the shots also helped to spike cancers as well. 30% increase in cancers this year. So these are all things that I think people need to be aware of, and they need to, understand that they can say no. So I think that's very important.
Well, not always. Do you have a pediatric unit? Because one thing that we've discovered.
I know.
Yeah, because I'm so mad about it. I'm going to keep bringing it up. But we had a case with a mother who had a child with cystic fibrosis in Florida. And the doctors there were pushing a black box warning drug on the mother, and she had questions and didn't want to give her child this drug because she'd had a previous reaction to a similar or drug with similar ingredients. And they've taken her child for 2 years. What could Graith Care have done in this situation that would have maybe kept this child with her mother?
Well, we deal with that a lot, I will tell you. We've got a lot of moms and dads that are no longer wanting certain things for their children. And they need to make sure they are being very wise with who they're taking their child to. There are some hospitals and doctors that I would never recommend somebody to go to because they do want to place parents under what's called non-compliant parents, documented with an electronic medical record, and it follows them forever. So what's very important, having an advocate to talk to about what are the things that you want for your children, even before you have children. It's very smart to understand, how do you have that conversation with your doctor? How do you not feel bullied or coerced into doing certain things that you're not for sure of? When you say no to something, how do you say no instead of looking like a non-compliant parent? There are approaches that I find very useful as a pediatric intensive care nurse background, that parents really need to be wise with the words that they use, because if they say the wrong thing and they're talking to the wrong type of person, boy, does a social worker show up really quickly. And we've seen this a lot. We've even had CPS cases come to us because something was said at school or whatever the situation is. And they say, what do we do? And I will tell you, here in the state of Texas that I'm in, the cases that I'm called into, all of those cases got closed. 100% of them got closed because we understood how to collaborate with the CPS and also make sure those right conversations were being had with the parents, and also being there if the child needed to be interviewed. There's different approaches that we can use. So every situation is unique. I would also be very wise with parents that are looking at separation or divorce. They also need to be very mindful with how they are approaching their children's care, especially when there's a very a difficult divorce situation or separation. Some families are wanting all vaccines, maybe the mom, maybe the dad's not wanting that, or the other way around it. This is a very intense situation. And once you involve government bodies like CPS within these states, it can get very tricky in an intense emotional situation, and you are putting your child at risk to be taken away from you and to have to do things that the system and the courts would prefer them to do, because they are all linked together, in my opinion. So if I were to say anything to any parents or grandparents, I would say you need to slow up for a second, talk to somebody that understands these scenarios. Do not make this emotional. You need to make sure you're very, very smart with how you proceed, because we have seen some very concerning situations. And if they would have had an advocate to begin with, they would have never gotten to the level of issue that they were at, in my opinion.
So to that end, in some states you have one-party consent where you can record your doctor's appointment. And then you have two-party consent where you have to have permission from both parties in the room. When you, let's say, have a patient who has a child and she goes to a pediatrician, are you on a call with that patient throughout the entire visit?
Yeah. Yep. We
Great.
can be on the phone, on FaceTime, or on speaker. We do that all the time. And we prep visits. It's very important that when you're doing any type of doctor's appointment, in my opinion, you need to have a plan for what you're going in for and what you're walking out with. And this is very important, especially if you're not so for sure how supportive your doctor may be for things. This is where you do need to have a really good plan going in, getting what you need, and leaving. Some of these people are not your friends. They're just not.
Now, to that end, are you recording all of these visits?
Well, we have to pay attention to what state we're in, because we also want to make sure if there is a case that can move forward, we are being mindful of what those, what can happen within that state and how we navigate it. And we also, of course, want to make sure our clients understand what the plan is for those things. We have done recordings, and depending on what our client needs, in the CPS cases here in Texas that we've been involved with the child that has had to be interviewed for various reasons, we did, of course, let them know we were recording. They recorded. That way, both parties knew. There are other scenarios that you can use recordings based off of the state law. But we're not attorneys here at Graith Care, but we want to make sure that we're doing the right thing in case that client does need to move anything forward with getting with an attorney. So we're trying to be very smart with how we proceed in all angles.
Great. Yeah, I think the latest, one of the latest iOS updates on iPhones is the ability to record a conversation on a call, and it alerts everyone that you're being recorded. That is so powerful, and it transcribes it and whatnot. So it's a really useful thing, especially to parents in the situation like what the people in Florida were dealing with their cystic fibrosis child.
Yep.
This is a really great service. I mean, frankly, I think everybody needs it, and it's nice to have an external party with education and medical treatment involved.
Well, and I am gonna advocate for my organization, freedomcouncil.org. I mean, we have attorneys that are also more in the know than the average attorney about what is happening along these lines. And we're always trying to educate and improve our education within our group. There's about 300 attorneys in there nationwide. And I do think that, the hospitals and the social workers and the judges, I mean, they really treat parents not as adults and as not as people who have common sense and can raise their children. They really infantilize the parents, and that really causes problems at every level of this. The parents know generally what's best for their children, but there is so much interference with that. I mean, obviously one of the major interferences is the vaccine issue, where, the hospitals and the doctors generally are pushing those vaccines, and sometimes you'll be thrown out of your pediatrician's office if you won't accept the vaccines. And sometimes you'll get reported to CPS if you won't give your children a vaccine. And then when you get in a divorce situation or a separation and you got one parent on one side and the other, then a judge is making the decision. And my experience of the judges is most of them will just go with standard medical advice. They're not going to listen to somebody who says, hey, I read, all the contraindications on this vaccine. I don't want my child at risk. So informed consent is really being overlooked by judges, by hospitals, by child protective workers.
This is a really good service. I want to make sure we get your website out there, so I'm going to put it on the screen. Let's say you have a parent that's coming up to an appointment and they want to hire you. Are they able to just bring you in temporarily for a single visit?
Yep. Our services are super simple. What they're purchasing is advocacy time. There's 4 regular bundles of time, 1 hour, 2 hour, 4 hour, and 8 hours. There's a pricing tab there, breaks down all the pricing. Everything is very, very transparent online. If they need one of our specialty advocates, we can bring them on. If you go down a little bit more, you'll be able to see our specialty advocates. We've got Dr. Silva, who helps with integrative options for cancer. He's got a forensic med background. He's actually legal trained as well to review cases. Dr. Fogarty is our radiology hyperbaric specialty advocate. He can advise on even looking at second set of eyes for scans, which has been a brilliant. Dr. Jana Schmidt helps with people with natural fertility. You do not have to do all of the traditional stuff to get pregnant. Dr. Jana can help. Dr. Tenpenny, which many people know, she is providing an excellent service to really help one-on-one with people with vaccine injuries, want to know all the things she knows. And she, of course, shares all. She's amazing. And then Dr. Diana Wright. She actually killed her ovarian cancer that had metastasized in 2012. And she's got a naturopathy background, and she helps people at all those levels. And then the services below breaks down all the different types of advocacy that we do. We have tons of advocacy services there that we're helping people bridge the gap. We've got our advocates there. We do the matching for people. So when they call us having a need, we do the matchmaking. So that way you get fit with the right advocate. We've got a lot of information and testimonials. So when people come, they can book a call right off of the website. It's a free intake call. So if you just want to learn, book a free intake call. That will get you with our intake team. You can learn about how our services will work for you. And what's really special about our services is our services that you're purchasing time for, you don't have to use all of your time at one session, at one phone call. We have people that have bank time on their case from 2022 still remaining on their account, and they only talk to their advocate as they have needs for them and their family. And these are family accounts. We have families with up to 20 people on one account that use the time. So this is very unique services. We don't mandate how quickly you use your time. Your time does not expire. This is a journey that we really want to be here for people. So it's super amazing because we've been able to bridge that gap and give people the options that they deserve.
Yeah, I think it's amazing because one of the things you deal with when you're aware of the system is you don't know where to go when you get sick. If you go in the ER, you're playing Russian roulette. So it is nice to know that there is a service that you could call where you could get backup when you need it the most. Because a hospital environment, what do they call it? White lab coat syndrome or something like that, where you get a little panicked and you make emergency decisions under stress and fear. That's not a good way to practice health.
Yeah.
As a patient. So this is great. I think we're coming up on about an hour. Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, with the Freedom Council and the work that they do, we are so glad there's an amazing group of attorneys that we believe in. And I know the level of caring that Warner has done for people when I've sent in people over the years. the compassion from an attorney perspective has been so nice to have somebody to go to. The attorney world can be very scary for people. So I'm just thankful that there's a group that does believe in medical freedom, that does want to dig and be that level of support, because like I tell people, I am not attorney. I don't want to deal with attorneys. I want somebody else to do that work. We will just do what we do best. But it's great to partner with amazing people and all the medical freedom docs. I'm so thankful for them standing up for freedom. I do believe that another pandemic is what would be really nice and beneficial to the system, because it made them a lot of money. But I think there's more people waking up today that understand how to stand up for their freedom. And we are excited to be able to help them along their journey.
Well, thank you so much for what you do, Priscilla. And I hope that Graith Care grows and becomes ubiquitous with health, so that, we're not held hostage to systems that don't always have our best interests at heart.
Yes.
And for anybody that's looking, it's graithcare.com, GRAITHCARE.com. And if that's going to be it for you guys, I think we'll wrap it up right before an hour. Warner, always wonderful to see you. And Priscilla, thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you.
We'll put everything in the below comments.
I just want to say thank you for what you've done for me. I greatly appreciate it. And it's been very helpful in this beginning of a healing journey that is, it's a lot of difficulty lies ahead, a lot of difficulties in the past. And it's nice to have partners to help me through and guide me through some of that.
Yeah, you've been great. Hey, you've engaged in your own healthcare, and that's what I want everybody to do. Engage in your own healthcare, make that action plan. But you've been brilliant. I mean, you have really tackled this to a level that I wish everybody would. And I'm just excited for you and your progress.
Yeah, well, thank you. I'm not fully back to work yet, guys. I know I'm on this show, but it just took my legs out from under me, and for 2 months, all I could do was lay around. And now I'm just starting to have a few hours a day I can get some work in or do interviews or whatever. It's nice to have at least some space to do that in. I just feel like everything, it's just a horrible diagnosis to hear, I guess. But I'm very hopeful about it. Whatever God has in store for me, I'm ready for it. But I would like to stay around this earth a while longer if I can. I got kids and grandkids, so I'd like to enjoy them a little bit more. But I just can't thank you enough. And this model is so important. I wish everyone who is going through these very difficult times, whether it's vaccine injury, cancer, other illnesses, had advocates to help them, because I get it.
Well, let's work on what it will take to get this covered by insurance and Medicare and Medicaid.
I agree with you. I want that so bad, because that would help so many more people. And we have clients in all 50 states right now, in over 30 plus countries. So we are worldwide. And I will tell you, from 2024 to 2025, we over doubled the work that we're doing. So our team is growing. People do know us, and they come back all the time to get more help, because the healthcare system is very frustrating to people. So don't give up hope. Just call Graith Care. We'll be glad to help anybody.
Well, close out with your nonprofit too, so people can give to help others.
Yeah, it's on the website at the very top. There is a donate button, and there's where people can donate monthly. They can do a one-time donation. We have amazing people that have donated, and all of these donations go right to paying for the advocates' help. And if you look at some of these cases on here, we have helped these people with donated advocacy time. I mean, it's the most amazing mission that we can be able to do, is to help somebody in need. That case on the bottom with the mom and the baby, we got this mom a heart surgery for her baby in the state of California that was a bloodless heart surgery for 2 heart defects. This was during COVID, by the way. In the state of California, we made this happen. And that mom knows that without having an advocate that understood the language of how to make those things happen, that would have never happened in her circumstance. So the advocacy that people are donating towards is going towards real action and real medical freedom.
Excellent. Wonderful work. With that, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you both for taking time to join us today, and I will see you soon.
All right.
Have a great day, guys.
Thank you. See ya.
I believe in the Constitution. I believe that one case, the right case, can change the world. If you believe this too, Freedom Council is for you. Pursuing a major case can be overwhelming, but we provide a community of practice so that you have the resources available to support your case. My name is Warner Mendenhall, and we are Freedom Council. Join Freedom Council today. freedomcouncil.org.